I'm Eric Stark, and I'm here with sports writer for the Lancaster newspapers, Mike Gross, talking about the Phillies.
You have dragged me kicking and screaming to this topic. This depressing, hideous, awful topic.
Okay.
Go.
Who's to blame for the way the Phillies are playing right now? Is it Ruben Amaro? Is it Charlie Manuel? I'm setting up Casey to do little flashes on the screen.
Yeah, very nice.
Rich Doobie? Or is it the players? Name your player.
Well, to some extent, it's all of those people, but the one that is the most to blame, in my view, is by far is Ruben Amaro, and I'm not gonna totally kill him because the Phillies are facing a dilemma that many sports teams have faced over many years, which is when you have success and you get old, how do you transition to the next phase? So at what point do you blow it up and start over? And they're facing that, but they made it worse. They made the problem worse with some of the things they did contractually and overpaying people and so forth. But Ruben Amaro is the single person that I'm going to blame. And let me just say very quickly, how did he get into Stanford? That's the part that baffles me, Starkey.
We got to say Ruben Amaro Jr. Let's not blame his dad here, although he did help to give birth to him. Anyhow, Ruben Amaro Jr.
Right.
Contracts. Ryan Howard's contract is one of those that people always want to bring up and pick on right now.
Yes.
$25 million that just kicked in. At the time he signed that, did you think it was a bad contract then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I did, and I in defense of myself, I wrote that. But I didn't kill the Phillies over it. I didn't go nuts because it's complicated. He was a popular guy. He went through a 3 or 4 year period where he averaged 140 RBI,
right.
And he had at the time he had done a really good job of working on his physical condition, improving his defense, doing the things in the offseason that they wanted him to do. There was a sense in which they were rewarding him for that. But they've got killed by this contract. It's a terrible contract. They've gotten killed. Slow-moving first baseman type sluggers don't age well. They're relatively replaceable if they drop off 20% in their production. He would have been replaceable this year by a kid making $400,000 a year who probably could have given him. He doesn't hit left-handers at all. I mean, I'm not the first person to say any of this stuff, but it's a problem.
But it's a complicated problem because some of the guys like Halladay that was breaking down, and maybe Halladay should have admitted that he had arm problems before. Maybe they should have been seeing the problems too, even in warm-up sessions that he wasn't throwing right.
Right, they should and maybe that's a little bit on Doobie, and maybe that's a little bit on Halladay himself. But maybe it's my shoulder's sore. My shoulder's been sore before. Is this the normal shoulder soreness, or is this a real problem? And it's starting to look now at the age of 35 like shoulder surgery is going to be eventually in the short-term future for Halladay. It's a shame because he's a guy for whom you could already make a Hall of Fame argument. In addition to the fact that he's just the Phillies need him.
A couple of things. One, it reminds me a lot when Steve Carlton faded out with the Phillies.
Right.
It was hard to watch it sometimes. And that's what this looks like. And then Steve Carlton went to the Giants, the White Sox, and so forth. And it just was really hard to watch that slow decline.
And he's a guy who it means so much to him that he might have a hard time saying goodbye. He might have a hard time giving it up. But it is hard to watch. You're right.
As much as you want to pick on him more on the trades, and Holiday's making $20 million. You can't. None of the players from that trade have made it to the big leagues and done anything yet in that trade for Halladay. And a lot of them are his trades. They gave up a lot of minor leaguers, and they haven't.
That's a good point. That's a good point. You're going to hear a lot in the next couple of weeks, and I read the column in the Harrisburg Patriot today about how you got a home developed talent. Well, they leveraged home developed talent to get some of the people they have. It's not that simple. Right. I'm going to give the Phillies organization a little bit of a break on this in that sense. It's not easy. It's not easy to go from 5 straight division titles, 102 wins in 2 years ago. It's not easy, but if we're going to talk about who's to blame, Ruben Amaro.